Hey everyone, great to see you for live stream 132 from October 19th to the 1st of November 1917. Great to see you, Tolemykus. Great to see you, William Arends. Just hopefully downloaded as many images that you just sent me that I can grab. Great to see you, Meandering. Mike, hope you're doing well. Since it's going to be a little bit late for the chat. Anyways, let's get on with your quote, Tolemykus. Italy must stand firm. We shall hold the Piave and rebuild our strength with the help of our allies. Vittorio Emanuele Orlando's assumed office on the 30th of October and at the Rapello Conference, November 5th to the 7th. Yep. Too bad Charles Latora. Well, hopefully he will be here a little bit later, so we can talk about the bad news that's been going on. As everybody knows, what's going on in Italy. Battle of Caporato's on. Anyways, let me pop on the screen so you guys can see what the heck I'm looking. You can see here. I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to add that one. There we go. Excellent. All right, your thing in Majig, and off we go and see what hopefully what we can get through with today. Anyways, welcome everyone as per usual. Please let me know what you've been up to the past week. I'd like to, or past 2 weeks, I guess I should change that up. Hopefully you'll let me know and others know. The raw notes. Yep. We're not, as you can see here, there's not a bunch of stuff in the live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits because you're about to see this. I'm about to show it to you. And we're going to go from there. Hold on here. I'm going to no, I'm going to share this one. Hold on here. There we go. Share the screen. Boinkity, boinkity, boink. Now, why are you seeing this? And I'll get rid of me because you're going to probably need to get rid of me. Maybe if I do, or maybe if I do it on the width. Okay, that's not too bad. Reason being is, what was it? Last weekend was the 3-day symposium there, which we'll be talking about that I attended. And my birthday last week, anyways, I'm way behind in putting in materials. So that's why you guys right now are looking at, hold on, you're not going to see something, but I want to do it now. So that way you guys are not going to have to deal with it later. Boink. And I can get rid of this, I think. Yep, I think we're okay. Or no, I shouldn't have done that. No, I think we're all right. Good. All right. I'll leave it at that. Let me get back to this thingamajig. So anyways, yeah, that's why you guys can see this. So you guys are going to see basically my raw notes. And we're just going to have to go through that. I haven't done any editing whatsoever. So all the stuff that I would normally pop in onto the screen is not done. So I've just barely looked at this. So I don't even know if you guys maybe have to get rid of me. I have to remind myself, oh, that's not, there we go. So we're going to go through super quick. All the stuff I told him because there's no behind, just rethinking your position. Oh, gosh, this sounds so military. I love it. Anyways, here we go. Yeah, so you're not going to see me, but that's just the way it goes. Like I said, these are just my raw notes of from the 3-day symposium, and we'll try to get through them as quickly as possible. And I hope maybe they'll stir up some discussion topic stuff, which is what I would love, obviously. So one of them was, so essentially the theme was irregular warfare. Darn it, I can't remember the whole title of it. But basically thinking outside the box, just non-conventional warfare, and all, I think there was like 17 different talks. It was pretty darn good. Anyways, the first one was on Gallipoli and terrain and how the Ottomans used the terrain to their best possible effect. It was pretty almost, well, I'm going to say creepy in many ways to see. Let's see if I can pop me in a little tiny bit. There we go. That's not too bad. Because that way you guys can at least see the full on. Seeing some of the screens, that the way they showed, like the way the machine gun were positioned just for these little kill zones, they knew exactly what was going on. Anyways, like I said, we got a lot of stuff to go through here, so I'll just zip through the notes as quickly as possible. The Narrows were produced by tectonic forces. There seems to their maps seem to be relatively outdated for the amphibious landings. All supply came from their ships, obviously. The water was shipped from Egypt that far away. And over time, trench warfare did take place, the thing that they were trying to avoid all this time. And this little comment, I guess, that Churchill had made at one point saying, I'm fed up of our boys chewing wire on the Western Front. Let's try something out. in Gallipoli. Anyways, about also rehearsals, whether or not there was rehearsals towards the amphibious landings, the training officers, if they had looked at the terrain, what kind of intelligence, counterintelligence, all this stuff, attention to detail. It was just because the guy was saying that basically the speaker was saying that in the end, the Americans really took note of the Gallipoli campaign, and he goes, you can see them later on when they're off in D-Day and whatnot. They used a lot of their what the good and the bad that came up out of it. Oh, this is from my little alternative history that we'll perhaps take a look at some point. Gertrude Bell, the Desert Queen. He was talking about that about these. Hold on, I'll get to you in a minute, William. Gertrude Bell, the Desert Queen, more or less like she was a spy for the Entente Allies, and the speaker was getting on into it, talking about how many languages this person could talk and so on and so speak. It was quite amazing. So what'd you say here, William Arends? I spent so much time translating these last 2 weeks that I did not get around to turn them into emails. I will do so by Monday. I'll be attempting to send you an audio file as well. William Arends, no problem. Like I said, I'm so far behind. It's like I need to actually spend like a day or two just dedicating going over your material and whatnot. So we're all good. As in, I'm right behind you, if you want to put it that way. Anyway, so here, let's get back to some of the topics. And Samson, was she about it? The heck was she about? Oh, yes, the African theaters in irregular warfare. This was really good. That's right. She's from South Africa, and Samson. And all of the British Western Front, she was just showing you that you could take the entire Western Front, and it was basically the same amount of space that was equal sometimes to the same distance that a very small volunteer unit in Africa would have had to, patrol, just to show the difference. And imagine the terrain in Africa versus, in some areas versus the Western Front. Like I said, it isn't just raw notes I'm throwing out at you guys here. General Botha, from South Africa, brought in planes from the Western Front to act as scouts in Southwest Africa right off the bat, supposedly in 1914. There was also 19 different types of German anti-tank mines. I don't know if it's from her talk, because I'm going back, like I'm just, like I said, raw notes here. There was 19 different types of German anti-tank mines. So like the speaker was saying, the Germans were taking the tanks seriously. No matter how, a lot of times, at least for me anyways, I often think of the fact that it's like, tanks at the beginning where, they didn't work very well, or they weren't all that, whatever. Seems like the Germans took them pretty bloody seriously. 15% of the tank destruction, he believes, was due to anti-tank mines. And they had huge minefields that were not, a lot of them were not documented and whatnot. So it was, like the guy said, unfortunately, that was found out, by a lot of French farmers. Anyways, Mines on Fire is a book to go and look it up. The mutiny in Singapore about the 5th Light Infantry Regiment in 1915. There supposedly was multiple forces used to quell the uprising there. And supposedly they did not believe the Emden had sunk. When they were told that they were going to be transferred, they were like, "Are you out of your flipping mind? We're not doing that. We heard what happened to the last ship, a transport ship that went across that got nailed by the Emden and all those people drowning." So they were like, "No, we're not going to be." When the infantry, it says here, we're going to be transferred to the Hong Kong. Many thought they were going to be sunk by the Emden. And Losing Hearts and Minds book by Dr. Imey. Like I said, I'm just these are all raw notes here. Faithful Fighters, Identity and Power in the British Indian Army. That was probably for that one there. And then Robert Feeney did a thing about, it was, I think, information and whatnot, or development of the air component and whatnot. On a side note, actually, which I thought was kind of neat, was a couple of nights ago, I was watching part of the Red Baron movie, I think, from 1983 or something. Or much later than that. What am I saying? I was thinking of a different film, 1983. It doesn't matter. anyways, I was watching it with Zoe Dufour, some of it anyways, and then she had mentioned wanted to find out about the evolution of air warfare. Like, how did that start? Like, what was at the beginning? I was like, okay, this will be interesting to talk about. And it was this guy talked about I wanted to look up things about spark gap transmitters. And on May 17th, 1918, I don't know what the hell why I have that written down. Wireless was quite popular with the public. I had no idea it was that popular at that time. And when I guess supposedly when the Americans were actually joining the war, they had a lack of equipment and were actually, I guess, canvassing around, asking the public, could you give us your wireless transmitters and so on and so forth. Aviation is a logistics heavy application. These are the amount of planes that were produced over the Great War, which I thought was rather interesting, especially with the U.S. due to the fact that right now, if anybody's been following the headlines and whatnot, we just keep hearing about all these American planes that are going to be brought over. Actually, on the side note, the United States never built or shipped over one of their own pursuit aircraft during the Great War. They never got around to doing that. But anyways, and then Dr. Mark Stout was talking about American intelligence gathering and whatnot in the Great War. And one thing that he found really interesting was the YMCA Intelligence Bureau. It wasn't around for very long, but supposedly the YMCA actually went to the government and said, hey, by the way, just to let you know that a lot of, when we're over there doing our stuff, the Young Men's Christians Association, a lot of the soldiers actually come to us and start talking to us and unloading all their whatevers. They assume we're like a priest and whatnot and giving confession, but we're not obligated. We could tell you anything you want. And so the American government was like, awesome. Let us know everything that they're telling if there's anything we need to know. So I just thought that was rather interesting. And the speaker actually said he thinks that if anybody wants to do further research, that would be a great one to go and take a look at. Massive amount and breadth of U.S. intelligence. He was absolutely astounded by the amount of U.S. intelligence that was going around the world at that point. World War I and the Foundations of American Intelligence, I think, was either his book or the name of the talk. And for all the expectations that Americans will produce lots of airplanes, that was my notes. I'm just didn't know I had put this down. See all the headlines we see, they never produced their own pursuit aircraft and shipped to Europe. And we're going to continue on. The Sea as a Weapon, Blockades in World War I by Christopher Warren. Blockades hastened political upheaval. The U-boat campaign was a tactical success, but a strategic defeat. Blockade was an endurance, a competition of endurance. The Aztec sinking, actually, it was ironic that I found, hey, Charles, great to see you, man. Super duper great to see you because we haven't really started talking too much about Caporetto yet. I'll pop your little thingamajig on here. Damn, my phone screen is shot. I just went sneakers up and laptop for now, but I have to leave soon. Well, I'm glad to see you, Charles. That's for sure, and I hope you're doing well, man. So what I found interesting was this topic was the best of all the ones that I wanted, which I didn't think I was going to be all that interested in listening to, was German submarine warfare in Hawaii, which never actually occurred. The guy was using a provocative topic, but what he was saying is that German submarine warfare had an effect on the native Hawaiian population. Before then, I didn't realize. A lot of you guys probably do know. I didn't know about how Hawaii got annexed by the United States, and that was it used to be a kingdom and all this stuff, and the Queen wasn't still never really warmed up to the United States. But with the Aztec sinking, that made it hit home with them because there was actual native Hawaiians that had died on that ship. Hawaiian annexation by the USA, World War I, and the change of sentiment once that happened. And then armed neutrality, he talked a bit about that. And then the SS Rockingham, it used to be called the Nebraskan. He said that was another ship that had got an important ties with the native Hawaiians and them bringing in the sentiment towards that. And also eventually starting to feel like they were true Americans, that type of stuff, which I thought was really neat. Oh, goody. I'm glad to hear that you're getting a little bit better, Charles. Ships needing to illuminate the American flag and have identity painted along freeboards. It said something to do yet again. Tolemykus says that I guess it was a little sneaky the way the Americans got the. I'll put his little thing up. How they got Hawaii. And then, so there are ships needing to illuminate American flags and have identity painted on freeboards. I thought that was rather interesting to find out about. This was, I'd like to find out a bit more about that. I don't know how long that lasted, but maybe that was part of that armed neutrality thing or whatever. Anyways, the Chinese troops in Vladivostok in August 1918, and it was about irregular warfare as a struggle among state. There's a lot of coin talk in this. Oh my God, was there ever a lot of coin talk in this thing? I think he even actually used the term coin, the speaker. Irregular warfare is a struggle among state and non-state actors to influence populations and affect legitimacy, erode an adversary's power, influence, and will. China in World War I is essentially run by warlords, he says, from 1916 onwards. And then the Russo-Japanese War was about control of Manchuria and the rail line. And key junction was Harbin, Port Arthur and Harbin to Vladivostok. Like I said, these are raw notes. I mean, you just got to go with them. Global economic war in World War I. Before World War I, Sweden and Denmark did not import any grain from South America. Yet by October 1914, many ships from Buenos Aires were exporting wheat to these neutral nations where everyone knew that grain was going to go to Germany. Central Power attempts to get around the blockade. Unintended long-term effects of economic warfare, about the contraband, the disruption to economies, resentment, and demonstration of imperial limits. This was a lot of it to do, especially down in South America, showing like how much anti-British sentiment came about from a lot of this economic warfare because it disrupted. So think about even South Africa. It obliterated the ostrich feather industry. And you may not think, well, it was pretty monster for them, obviously. British economic warfare was indirect to the public. However, German economic warfare was direct and visceral, and therefore seemed to have had more of an impact on the public psyche. Sergeant York, October 8th. I don't know who the heck this person is. That person was mentioned repeatedly in this person's whatever. How much did economics win or lose the war over militarily? I would love to know that. Like, did Germany lose the war because of the blockade more so, or did they lose it more so because of the military thing? I also wonder if that has something to do later on with the stab in the back stuff. If you can, I'm just, like I said, this is all new stuff, all raw. The Italian front. This was almost the last one. I hope you're still there, Charles. It was a dandy. The Italian front fighting a war of attrition in the Alps. The 50th anniversary PBS special on World War I. I've got to look this up. This guy said it's a dandy. Eight considerations of logistics. I don't know what the hell they are, but I'd like to look them up. Italians executed 3 times more soldiers than any other Entente power. The Battle of Veni, I can't remember the name. Remember, this is raw notes. I'm just throwing it out there. The Battle of Veneto, or whatever the hell it was, started exactly on the same day, October 24th, 1 year later than the Battle of Caporetto. I don't think that's a coincidence, unless there was some weird weather, whatever's. There was some weird weather or whatever's, though, for the Battle of Caporetto, remember, that was slated for October 22nd, didn't start till the 24th because of bad weather. And then Russia Beyond the Trenches, David Stone, that was the final speech, final lecture, or whatever. Eastern European Jews leaned more towards Germany than Russia during the Great War. The U.S. Civil War created cotton production in areas that did traditionally not grow cotton and or for commercial purposes. The cotton monocultures developed and therefore affected economies again. Which I think is quite amazing. And what in the world does Meandering Mike say? SBI's World War I game, more than half the Allied points from the blockade. I know. And hopefully we're going to be talking about this in a minute because we're down to page 6. I'll leave your thing up. Page 6. And here we go. The reds, the whites, and the greens. I've never even heard of the greens. You guys probably do. You guys probably have heard of the Greens. I haven't. It's the peasantry. And they said the Bolsheviks used poison gas against their own peasantry. And they hated the peasantry. I don't know anything about this type of stuff. Like, I'm learning as we're going along here. Bolsheviks were out to destroy the Russian peasantry. I had no flipping clue about this. And now we're into the summaries, the war summary. I'll try to go this super quick. Oh my God, we're 20 minutes in. The Russian fleet is in a fair way of being smashed without having accomplished anything like the damage it might have done had it been resolute in leadership and personnel. Remember, if it's in quotes, it means it was from the newspaper. Austro-Hungarian crews of various warships have been in mutiny. And I was just like, oh my God, that's a juicy after hours. I wrote for myself. A London Times dispatch to the Globe from Rome emphasizes the shortage of the grain crop in Italy and the duty of the Allies to assist in making this good. I'm sorry, but I just kept thinking of that. Is it the Europa game that has that counter for pasta or something? Or you guys would fill me in on that. But when I saw that, I went, oh my God, that's probably about their bloody pasta. 4 Zeppelins were brought down by French guns and aviators. And it says one was captured intact with a crew of 28. And that was returning from a raid over London. German naval forces must be credited with smart work in their feat of sinking 2 British destroyers and 9 vessels of a fleet of 12. I was like, whoa, this I thought was pretty cool. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Brian R. Smith. This is awesome because, like I said, they kept mentioning Sergeant York. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? Sergeant York was an American soldier from Tennessee. He earned a Medal of Honor from an action in Meuse-Argonne offensive on October 8th. That's why I've got the date there. October 8th, 1918. He's made famous in the Gary Cooper movie in 1941. And did he also, is that part of the Lost Battalion, or am I merging battles? Because I know there's a movie or a TV movie or something that Meandering Mike really enjoys, the Lost Battalion. I think that's also what it's called. Oh, really? William Arends. I did. I hope I've got it there. I've sent you an article from Berlin's Financial News that included information about the cotton trade. Ooh, excellent. I'm going to pop your thing back on here, Brian R. Smith, while we're going in, because you got a lot of stuff there. German naval forces. Oh, I already read that. At Macedonia, there are indications of movements on a pretty wide scale. Heavy fighting in German East Africa with British and Belgian forces are now in direct contact. And not related to the last battalion. Thank you very much, Brian R. Smith. The major objectives aimed at, namely, the flanking of submarine bases on the Belgian coast. Remember, we were talking about this when Jellicoe and whatnot were saying, look, you guys have got to do an offensive up near Flanders and whatnot. We've got to get these freaking submarine bases later on. Remember, they've been doing reconnaissance and bombing there. Reconnaissance with aerial photos. We know that the big one there is coming up next year, where they try to sink the ships or whatever, block the canal system there. Oh, another thingamajig. Sergeant York was famous for having single-handedly captured a company of German troops. Holy shit. Where are we? Reprisal raids by Britain are mentioned often. Remember, we were wondering whether or not Great Britain was going to do this, the public wanted it, about the Germans bombing civilian targets in London and whatnot, and saying, hey, let's do the same. Doesn't look like they're doing that. The French certainly have been doing reprisal raids, but they're seem to be, yet again, focusing on military targets. On the eve of the most important inter-allied conference ever held, and it was on October 23rd, 1917. I don't have a flipping clue about it, but I was like, if the article is going to write that down, I better write that down and try to find it out, find something about it at some point. What a glorious chance for well-served long-range artillery and for submarines manned by bold men. And that was written about the potential for Germans after taking Moon Island and whatnot, and starting to get grips onto the mainland around Riga. Official reports from Rome are obviously heavily censored, but it is plain to read in them the admission of an advance by the foe. And I wrote this down for the 26th of October, just due to the fact that, yet again, I have to wrap my mind around the fact that, okay, it's over 100 years ago, but these people are getting information quickly. Look, The battle just started 2 days ago. This is being read by somebody in Toronto 2 days later, and it's not just like a slap quick article. Like it's well, thought out. They've got censored. They make, it's a whole, like everything. I just thought this is really cool. Brazil has declared war on again, and I just yet again another juicy after hours thing to look at. I'm just telling you, if anybody does not stick around after the hour, or at least watch it later on at some other point, because there's some really good after hours stuff in there. On the Italian front, things are not going well for our allies. Oh, brother. October 31st, the first paragraph, we're not going to look into it. We've got too many other things to do. British reprisal raids on German towns continue to be carried out in systematic thoroughness. And I'll pop me back to here temporarily while I get rid of this. And I'm just going to go to see where the heck we are. I think we're okay. Boinkity boink. All right. I don't think we're going to have to show, but we're going to get back to the narrative window so you guys can see that at least. I hope. There we go. Boink. All right. And then we're going to get back to where the hell we were. The raw notes. And yeah, like you got, if anybody watched, I did a video earlier in the week, I think it was this week, where I decided it just ended up becoming World War I game that I was using, the SPI game again. Brazilians during the after hours. Oh, you. Oh my God, I didn't see it that way, but yeah, I could see us all leaning back on a chair. Let's not get into this. Anyways, yeah, with the alternative timeline, it just opened up a huge can of worms for me, and I would like to go to one of the huge can of worms very quickly. And then I just realized, wait a minute, yet again, that bloody game is, I think, a really good coaching. Like it's just a really good thing to have around. Hold on here. I want to see where the hell we are. Don't worry, William Arends, there's so many bloody... okay, here we are. What if Britain remained neutral in World War I? Let's see what this website says. Once I pop it on. Stop you. Boinkity boink, boink. You guys can see it. And I'm going to get rid of the kinky after hours. And there we go. What if Britain had remained neutral in World War I? And imagine a world where Britain remained neutral. Well, I'm trying to play this out. That's what I'm doing. And the guy goes on through all this stuff. And I was just like, wow, I really was like, it just, yet again, even when I hadn't even seen this website yet, and already my mind was ticking a mile a minute, thinking about all kinds of things that could be happening. So is this the dude? No, that's Edward Gray. If Charles Latora is still around, though, I did find a Cecil. It was mentioned again, which I thought was quite funny. But anyways, we got that. I wanted to show you that bit. Then we're going to go to the. Oops. Nope. We're almost there. So that's something I certainly do want to discuss at some point. There we go. And it was like that. Boink, bitty, boink. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope we can talk about this in future live streams about what would happen if Britain did remain neutral. Like, I just can't. What a mess. Oh yes, the articles. Let's go to the article super quick because we're 28 minutes in, and I want to get in. There's a fair amount of community contributions. Something fierce. It was really nice. Oh, I already got him in there. Okay, goody. Pop you in here. There we go. I'm going to make this boink, and then I'm going to make this, so you guys can see. There we go. Much better. Yeah, the Soul of Quebec. I'd love to read this out. I think it's going to be a nice way of getting another. More stuff. What else do I got in here? Anti-German riots in Alsace-Lorraine. We've been talking about that. I'd like to find out more about. And yet again, remember, William Arends, sent some material about the German war loan. So that when I saw this article, I was like, okay, we're going to put this off to the side so I can see if I can try to connect the dots with it, with your materials. That's why it's there. Belgians deny German charge. This is about show how Berlin distorts the truth about the East African campaign, reprisal excuse. And I wanted to get in and find out about that. More British aerial raids. We were talking about that. German military establishments in Belgium effectively attacked. Oh, yeah. Stuart Lyons in Canada now. We've got a new one. There you are, dude. So Charles Latora. So during the lecture, I'm one of them in there, and they started talking about Lord Robert Cecil, and I remembered your comment about in one of my things about that you don't trust Cecils or whatever. And I went, oh my God, there he is. Here we were talking about it in the lecture, so I was super duper quickly. Ooh, excellent, excellent. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to see if I can do a screen capture as super bloody quick as I can before it disappears, which I was able to, as you could see. So I was super happy about that. So, and what else do I got? Oops. And then this one's on Civilization, which I was like, what is this? Civilization is Colossal, a scenic film production at Massey Hall touches the war. And I put this in the sources and links. I don't think we have to take a look, but let's see if I can find it. I've got it also in the link for if you want to watch the film. It's free now. Obviously, it's over 100 years old. Hold on here. 31 minutes in. I just want to make sure we're not. Like I said, I want to make sure I get to your stuff a lot. I just popped this in. I'd never heard of this bloody film. Excuse me. Get rid of me so you guys can see that. Civilization is a 1916 American pacifist drama film produced by Thomas Ince, written by and whatever, and it goes on and on and on. Talks a bit about it here. So I was like, oh, this is interesting to find out about. So anyways, and let's get back to the where are you? Oh, there we go. Poink. All right. This. And actually, wouldn't that be better? Yes. And that's the Civilization one. And then Constantine convicted. And it goes on and on about it's just this bottom part of it, which I really thought was funny. I think this is the one with the pigs. Is it? Yeah. Queen Sophie alluded to the Allies as infamous pigs. And I guess Queen Sophie is what? Sister of the Kaiser, I do believe. Isn't she? So I was like, oh my gosh. And then Honduras wants leather goods. Do you remember I was mentioning this the last live stream, which I thought there's something weird going on with these articles. There was like, I can't remember them all. Jamaica wants fish or some kind of whatever. And I just thought, wait a minute, these are weird headlines and articles. And I thought, is this some kind of weird code going on across? Like, is there some kind? I would love to make a fake one up. It just seems so weird. Like, what does Honduras stand for? What does leather goods stand for? It's so neat. British novelist is dead. I don't know who the heck this person is, but I wanted to go and find out eventually. Like I said, this is all fairly raw stuff. Oh, Harro Bosma decides to finally make an appearance. Here you are. Daylight saving time change drives me nuts. Oh, that's right. Of course, you guys. I keep forgetting about that. Hope you're doing well, Harro Bosma. And we haven't got to your stuff yet, so that's a bonus. And William Harris says, I've seen a YouTube feed of a lecture from the Western Front Association about Lloyd George and the war. Ooh, that would be nice. Thanks for letting me know. I'll have to go and look it up for flipping sure. And to put it mildly, was a German agent. Greek government makes a nice discovery of Constantine's treachery. I was just like, I just love that title. I mean, come on. That's just hilarious. Oh, I like that one. That's nice. And Quebec dislikes the new government. There's something, I don't know what the hell's happening right now in Canada, but I guess it must be a changeover with the government or something. But there's even a talk of like, if you even diss your own party, it's considered treason. I was like, what the hell is going on in Canada? Quebec dislikes new government, evident that conscription policy will carry few seats. Laurier strong there. Province unfortunately divided racially, some of the candidates. And then the Rush admiral disappears. Admiral, and it says here, during, they think he is believed to have fallen overboard from a submarine. And I'm like, or with all the crazy nonsense that's going on in Russia, maybe somebody pushed them. Just, you never know. And she saved the guns. I want to find out about this person. Here, I'll try to make her normal-ish. Hold on so you guys can see. And like I said, I can barely read her thing. Miss L.M., but it says something about she was at service in, I guess it looks like there was a bomb about to blow up or something like this in a factory. But anyway, she was able to do something. It's discovered and unexploded something or other. But what else do we got here? Mr. Stuart Lyon here. Oh, yeah, we'll pop so you guys can see it a bit better. And Mr. Stuart Lyon comes home today. Remember, he's been the Canadian correspondent. I've been able to find out very little about him. But some Canadians leaving, saw Canadians leaving Laws for Ypres and had luncheon with General Haig, which we're also going to see in your cenotaphs, William Arends, when we get to them. And that led me on to some beautiful little, went off to a little garden path there with that thing, one of your cenotaphs images that you sent, William Arends, and I'm super duper happy that you did. Are you kidding, Ashley? I'm so glad to see you. It doesn't matter. You can even show up 1 minute. It doesn't matter. I love seeing you. So thank you. Great to see you. And that's the end of that. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this for now so we can get to show the... Where are you? Where's the narrative? All right, because we are, holy molaroni, are we ever way off into Wonderland. The Tolemykus engagement question of the week. What role did independent pilots play in the war outside of traditional dogfights? And, well, let's think about Richthofen or Rickenbacker or the French dude. Darn it, I can't remember his name. But he actually had less kills than a less attractive, less socially amiable pilot, French pilot. So they used the other guy, you know, that type of stuff. Remember, at this day and age, from what we know, everybody and their dog, a Snoopy dog, if you want, it loves you know, all the pilots. It's such a romantic thing, you know, like look at them and so on and so forth. So, or Billy Bishop's been touring Canada. He's back right now, chit-chatting about this, that, or the other thing, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, I just thought that was neat. There it is. There was a federal election on December 17th. Like, oh my God, it's just right around the corner. And thanks for that. And what does one says? Crazy how the Canadians saw the French Quebecois a different race. I know when I saw that word too, I kind of cringed. I was like, Jesus. Later, the Quebecois believing themselves to be the well, it kind of pushed, you know, that way. And this interesting that you mentioned this as well, William Arends, because there's a lot of Sinn Féin stuff still going on right now. I'm not going to equate the two together. I mean, my God, let's not also get into that as well. But I mean, I just thought that was interesting about, you know, maybe another coin scenario available as well, don't you think? And Brian R. Smith just wanted to make sure that everybody know what that Laurie was doing the Liberals. And here we go with the Who or What Am I in World War I trivia. And guess what? We have a new second place person that's nipping at the heels of Brian R. Smith. And that's William Arends, you maniac. So there you go. And away we go with the clues. And I'll pop in the first one in the banners. And then I'll also pop it in the thing. So anybody new out there, I can't, like I said, I don't have a clue who's watching or whatever. I don't, all that stuff. So basically we just go, it's called Who or What Am I in World War I? 6 clues. I usually start fairly vague and get a bit more specific. usually. You get a point just for just throwing out any guess, or if you know the answer, whatever. But if you get the correct one, you'll get 6 points straight up. That's just the way it is. So I'll pop it in the thingamajig as well. So I've not been in the news at all, but I'll be making up for that fairly soon. Who am I, or what am I? Maybe I gave it away. And Brian R. Smith says the main election issue was conscription. Boy, can I ever see that. And if I'm curious, if that had never occurred, what Canada would be like right now today. I'm wondering if that also was the final wedge that is so almost impossible to heal. It'd just be amazing. Oh, well done, Meandering Michael. You're son of a bee. You're gonna. I have to put his on because. Well, I can't give you an extra point. Well, of course I could. I mean, what the hell? Some are you going to send me to the gaming commission or something? Trivia gaming commission? So, Manny, Mike, you were going to get a point, but you were incorrect. But I loved it. That's a good one. And Tolemykus says, end of war. And you're going to get a point as well, but you are incorrect. But you're not incorrect. Just not the right answer. Not the answer I'm looking for. All right, so there we go. And now your second clue. I'll put that one in. Some of my Spanish ancestry might be traced back to the time of the crown of Aragon. And I'll put that in. Oh, I never did put it in there. There's your there. And I'll put in the second clue. Hopefully they won't make me a spammer because I'm a maniac putting in the things. Boink. There you go. So there's your second clue. All right. Still nothing, huh? All right. I'll give you your third clue. I have a lot of experience with artillery. Who or what am I? Ooh, Ashley says the royal family. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. But you're getting a point. William Arends says, who is Capel? You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And Manuel says, Eleanor Roosevelt of Aquitaine. Oh, I like it. Oh my God, I have a book just upstairs too talks about Eleanor of Aquitaine. Nice one. But you will get a point. Manuel says, Big Bertha, nice one. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And now you're nipping at the heels of William Arends. William Arends, man, you better smarten up and start throwing out some clues. Oh, brother. Here we go. I'm going to put it in there. Ooh, Gallieni. Gallieni, Harro Bosma says, but you are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. And now you are 1 point away from Charles Latora, tying him. And William Arends says, Batin, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. I'm going to pop you in here. Hold your horses there, and I'm going to get you your next clue. Ooh, nice one, Harro. Nice one. Especially when you see this. Pershing, but you are incorrect. But that's a good one, considering the next clue is, I'll put it in the banner so people can see, is I got to see the groundbreaking ceremony for the Liberty Memorial in Kansas City in 1921, which I think is totally cool due to the fact that that's where the World War I Museum Memorial is, obviously. So I think that's totally cool. Tolemykus says, my neighbor's horse. You're going to get a point for that, but you are incorrect. And now I'm going to go number 5. Ooh, Ashley says soldiers. You're going to get a point for that. That is really good, actually, now that I think about it. Holy shoot. That's like really oh, yeah, I like that one. Patton. Ooh, another one. Nice one, William Arends. But you are incorrect. And Meandering Mike says, Joe DiMaggio the Elder. Nice. You're going to get a point. Where are you? There you are, Meandering Mike. You're going to get a point. I just got to make sure I'm getting everybody their points. That would suck if I didn't. And I'll put it in the comments. Hold on here. The 5th one. And your 5th one is, many people thought I was a brilliant general, one of the best of the Great War. Who am I? Oh, someone's going to get the 6. I mean, come on. You're going to see it, and then you'll go, okay, I get it. You ready? Almost. Up. Ooh, Brian Smith says Truman. He's going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Meandering Mike says General Mills. He's part of a balanced breakfast, but you are incorrect. You're going to get a point. And or see, I'm making fun of this because I didn't know there probably is a real General Mills. The only General Mills I know is on a cereal box. Sorry, guys. Ashley, you're going to get a point for General Mills as well. But Harro, Bloody, Bosma does it. You're going to get the 6, my friend. You are getting the 6 in a minute. With Tolemykus says MacArthur, but Harro Bosma does it. And William Arends, you're going to get a point too for Hindenburg. Well done, man. That's a good one. Hold on, I want to make sure I get because if I don't, we're going to get into trouble. Nice one, Harold. You got it. Armando Diaz. So I'll put in the final one, your banner here. The same cannot be said for my former boss, Luigi Cadorna, whom I succeeded. And I'll pop that into the comments as well. Well done, Harro Bosma. So yeah, we haven't heard about him much, but we're certainly going to hear about him a lot in a minute, in a little while, that's for sure. Captain Crunch's father, General Crunch. I love it. Oh, I love it. One of the few, one of those cereals you can eat without milk, no problem. That is for sure. Yep, answer is Armando Diaz. And I'll go through the, hold on here. I think I've got him here. Point, there you go. Excellent. And I'll get rid of the banners. Don't need to see him anymore. Come on quickly there. Well, what am I doing? You can see him there. And I'll put back to the comments and put him here so that, it's much better. And I'll make him a little bit there. Armando Diaz was an Italian general and marshal of Italy. He mostly is known for his role as chief of staff of the Reggio I can't say that, during World War I from November 1917. Oh, the crunch berries. I've never had that one, Ashley. He managed to stop the Austro-Hungarian advance along the Piave River in the first battle, and that was kind of also a interesting connection with Tolemykus's quote this morning. In June, the Piave River in the first battle of Monte Grappa. In June 1918, he led the Italian forces to a major victory at the Second Battle of the Piave River. A few months later, he achieved a decisive victory in the Battle of Vittorio Veneto, which ended, that was the thing I couldn't spell right in my raw notes, which ended the war on the Italian front. He is celebrated as one of the greatest generals of the war. And Harro Bosma says, I have the Caporetto game in historical notes. Well done. Yeah, that was, I didn't know there was any, that's the only peanut crunch I know as well, Meandering Mike. My God, that stuff, I can eat it from here to tomorrow. Jesus Murphy. Yes, Harro Bosma, it was so nice that you saw that. Okay, I got to get back to reality here. So that was it. I'm glad we got him here. We're going to see him a lot. A complete change of character, that's for sure. Once what's his diddle gets turfed. So I just want to get here, pop him away, boinkity boink. So we've done that. Oh my God, we're 12 minutes in. We're not going to do your thing right now, Tolemykus, because I want to get into the proper community contributions that we have, because there's a bunch of your stuff, a lot of your guys' stuff up there, and I really want to make sure that you guys see it all. So there we go. Community contributions. Harro Bosma, the faces of World War I and World War I in color. And this is how I did it. If I did it properly. Boink! I tried to make sure that you guys can see it. Hi, Chris. Saw this on Facebook. Watched it a couple of times. I found it so fascinating. Tomorrow I'll be in Essen, but this is a while ago. No VUCA games and no UGG this year again. But I said, I don't know what UGG, so you'll have to let me know what that means, Harold. No UGG this year again, but I set up a meeting with UA Wallington, owner of Sound of Drums. He is planning a new game on the Renaissance. He will issue prototypes for a bargain. Hope I'm on time to get one. I also ordered the Battlefields of the Napoleonic Wars. a commands and colors Napoleonics type of game, but without the cards. Anyways, stay tuned. Best regards, Harro. Now let me go to the thing that he showed. And you know what I thought was really cool, Harro? When I went to take a look at what you provided, if I can find it. Did I do it? You complete idiot. Did I do it? Or don't think I did it? Did I? Wait a minute. Oh, I did, kind of. Kind of. So if I grab this. Now, I don't have Facebook, but I was rather surprised I still could kind of see stuff. So hold your horses here. Yeah, it has a conniption fit with me. But you guys are going to see what... Oh, thanks, Harro. Oh, and Meandering Mike also mentioned it too. Udo Grebe Games. Nice. Biggest war game vendor was... Oh, nice. Now, you're going to see what Harro did, and that's why I was so happy, Harro. I don't even really need to see the... You're right. I watched it, and it's like, what? Let me let you guys see what I'm seeing and what Harro showed wants us to see. Hold on here. There we go. I'm going to get rid of me properly. There. A little bit. There, I don't cause any grief. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can. Look at that. We'll let it, look at this. Just let it go for a bit here, eh? I guess, what do you think? Those are British nurses? Yeah, you guys can see that, goodie. But there's different hats, so I'm wondering what, like, is that an officer nurse or? What I found really interesting is just staring at the different, well, you can see like what was going on in some of their minds, man. He's talking about living under German occupation for 4 years. Anyways, thank you for showing me how. I just got to make sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got. Look at that. Anyways, it's there for you to see. In the popped it in the sources and links, so I'm really happy. Okay, so I can get rid of that, and then let's go to stop sharing, so I can bring in the next thing. Oops. Yes, we're okay. We're back to community contributions. Boink. There we go. And then the next person for community contributions is the Grog Shed, my most incredible discovery on YouTube. See you later, Charles. Good luck to you, man. There, pop your little thing so everybody can see. Hi, Chris. Hope all is well. This popped up on YouTube about a set of diaries of a soldier in World War I. There's not much info. It's very short, but it's still interesting and worth watching as a YouTuber reads a few snippets. Take care. And let's see if I can grab this. The Grog Shed. All right. Another one of us mug gluttons. All right. Hold on.
And that black cross is for the declaration of war. Over the next few weeks, he is desperate for news of the war. August 13th, 1914, no news, fair anxious to get to the war. But his luck came in the 5th of September, and finally he could get what he wanted and sail to Europe to join the war effort. He leaves Canada on Saturday, the 5th of September 1914. He had a very special role to play in the conflict, to go and do map making and surveying work on the Western Front. In September 1915, he arrived at the Battle of Loos. He writes, "Work around Loos under hot fire, making special sketches for Haig of Hill 70 at the back of Loos.
We're going to be talking about Hill 70.
Amongst dead bodies, plane tabling. The next day,
well,
recommended
twice,
for
remember?
MC,
There and then back in
and then on the
1970.
30th of December, he writes, "Got my MC." The following day, he was at Givenchy, a small
I'm
village
going to
south
stop
of Luz.
because I want to make sure that we're not running out of time. Thanks, Brian R. Smith. Brian R. Smith was saying about the Facebook thing that it looks like snippets from Peter Jackson's "They Shall Not Grow Old" movie, which I have not seen yet. Anyways, let's get back to the sharing bits. Make sure that I want to make sure that everybody gets their stuff. Okay. And the next person, I think there's a lot. Oh, Tolemykus, the Great Wars hex crawl. I was blown away by this. And you're going to see because he tells you where to get it. There's an extremely early alpha version of what I am working on. Ideas have been plentiful, but time as usual has not. I have the loop mapped out, basic die rolling mechanism. Hi, Meandering Mike. I didn't forget. So I don't, you guys are obviously having a little side conversation going on. It will be as historical as any war game, meaning it will be ahistorical. The sample file is pretty self-explanatory. P.S. Anyone who wants a copy of a World War II version of the narrative logic puzzles, the one that we've been doing every bloody, almost every live stream, it was my first and arguably not as good as the Great War version. But since I was still figuring it out, still am. And you can get it from there. Tolemykus, the generational rabble rouser and mud glutton for flippin' sure. And let's see if I've got it somewhere. Where the heck did I put it? I don't know where I put it. Darn it. I wanted at least people to see the, hold on here. Oh, I would have put it in PDFs, of course. What the heck am I thinking of? Where are you? Interlude alpha version? Nope. Nope. It's the Great War Head Scroll. Point. And I'll turn this in that so you guys can see that. A Mud Glutton's Journey. Beautiful. Western Front 1914, a shattered landscape of trenches, shell holes, and ghosts. You're a soldier on endless rotation, scout, saboteur, survivor. Each day brings new danger, orders, or madness. Can you survive long enough to become a veteran? Or will a war claim your body and mind? A Great War Hex scrawl that plays like a campaign-length war diary where each hex represents 6 miles of the Western Front, or any Great War theater with small changes. You start somewhere in Belgium near the German border. The German invasion of Belgium was a military campaign which began on August 4th, 1914, part of the Schlieffen plan. Wicked. So because I just want to make sure we don't run out of whatever, but it's there. I've got it well, you can get it off of Tolemykus as well, but I'll put it up. I'll put it up on my little website thingamajig or whatever for people to see this for flipping sure. Let's get back to that. Thank you so much, Tolemykus. Can't wait to hope people grab that. Well, I'm off to try to do something with it. Hey, maybe we can do a thing with that every live stream. Why not? Anyways, William Arends, Cenotaph for Remembrance Day. As we enter the month of Remembrance Day, here are a few photos taken from various cenotaphs and memorials in Southern Ontario, including some from Paris, Ontario. And I'm just going to read this whole bloody thing up, this whole thing up because I want to show your pictures, and then we're going to go. You're going to see. William Arends, German book pickup. After I had translated an article by Bruno, actually, no, we're going to do the first one because yes, that makes sense. Now hold your horses. I got to get to them. Boy, oh boy, did you send me off in a little goose chase or whatever they say, William Arends. Just got to make sure that I've got it right. I think I've got them in proper whatever. Just want to make sure that Yep, that's not too bad. Okay. And then start the screen. Where are you? Don't you start doing that to me. I think it's not going to let me do that again anymore. Are we having that little problem? I hope not. Okay, so we've got to put this here. There we go. Let's see. Share the screen, please, please. Nope, doesn't seem to know my things there anymore. So I want to show them, so that's tough. I'm gonna have to show you my whole screen. Here we go. Window, screen, boink, boink. There, because I want you guys to see this thing. Uh-huh. You guys can see that a little bit better, I hope. I'll try to, I'm going to do this. We'll have to maybe get rid of this so you guys don't have to see that. Kind of weird. Yeah, you guys are seeing everything that I see. So here we go. I'm going to read out the, oh, darn it, I should have had it as in the banners or whatever. But anyways, this is what I thought was kind of neat too. William Arends, is that here we are with Hill 70 and all that stuff is going on right now, and Passchendaele and everything. But we're going to get into some really fascinating stuff, I thought, anyways. The veterans of World War II, 50th anniversary of victory. Now we're at the 100th. My gosh. There's Paris, Ontario. I know, because you ended up telling me later on. We're going to find out that's part of Paris, Ontario, where they're digging up their main street. Now, this is what I found really where you sent me off into wild goose, whatever, William Arends. So I'm looking at here, the World War I Paris Honor Roll, and I was like, it's not a lot. Well, I was in, that's a amount of people I can count. Okie doke. So I counted them out, 57 people. I also noticed nursing sister Dorothy M. Baldwin. What in the world? I was like, that's pretty amazing. So I got to this bit. Well, that's right. You guys can see everything now. Oh, this is nuts. Okay. So why I wanted to show you this. This is going to be so weird. I don't have to do all these wacky, weird things anymore. I can just go like this, I guess. Oh, this is funny. Maybe I should have done this all the time. Anyways, so I went off to find out about Paris, Ontario, to find out what was the percentage with 57 people. I didn't know how many people were in Paris, Ontario at the time. And it says here, William Arends says, it turns out that all the cenotaph pictures are from Paris, Ontario. Excellent. Thank you, William Arends. And then, look, like I said, it's not perfect, whatever. But when I looked over here and I was like, okay, let's do 1911 and 1921. I'll find the median number. It's what, 4,203, I do believe. Anyways, that came out to about 1.3% of the population was taken out. I mean, it's a rough numbers, but I don't know. Is 1.3% a big number? I really don't know. So anyways, thank you for that, because we're also going to go off into finding out about this. Because of you, William Arends, doing all these cool things. And there she is. She's in here. This person that you guys can barely see. There we go. And she's in here. Female nurses performed a vital part in caring for the sick. Blah, blah, blah. And it goes on through here. And it talks about her in here. There she is. Dorothy Baldwin. Killed by enemy aircraft on the 30th, January, February, March, April, May 30th, 1918 in France. So there she is. And there's her thing, which I thought was totally cool. So thank you, William Arends, for that. And now we're going to keep on trucking. I got to remember that you guys can see everything I see. So this, oh yeah, we got to go back to your things. I'm going to take a look at, get rid of that for now. You get the community contributions. So after I had translated an article by Bruno Stumke about the political situation in the Reichstag, which we have not seen yet, that list only goes from A to H on the back of the column and went from I to Z. Oh, thank you, William Arends. I didn't even notice that. Oh, thank you. So that means the percentage is going to be worse. Holy shoot. Ouch. After I translated an article by Bruno Stumke about the political situation in the Reichstag, I saw that he had written a book entitled That and the Origin of the German Republic, published in 1923. I was able to order a copy of it from a German antiquarian bookseller. It was only $22.11 USD. The most interesting thing is that any of the copies of this book would have survived the book burnings of the 1930s and 40s, since the development of a parliamentary system definitely was not a subject that a dictatorial regime would tolerate. Cool. And then he also talks about, here are pictures of the book cover and the dedication to one of the Red Baron's cousins who chose to make a career in politics rather than the military. A translation of that page follows. This book, and you're about to see it in a minute, is dedicated to Hartmann Baron von Richthofen, who in the Old Reichstag and in the National Assembly had represented the political philosophy that underlines the basis of the book, and in remembrance of our mutual laborers. Seems that way I don't screw it up here. It is interesting to consider that while Berlin, Ontario, Canada, and the well, you're going to see those later pictures in a minute, Canada and the region of Waterloo felt obligated to change its name to Kitchener. In contrast, Paris and the country of Brant remained proud of his designation and having sent soldiers to defend France, just as the other Parisians of Paris did as well. This summer, Paris, Ontario, tore up its main street as part of the city renovation project. In doing so, the underlying soil of the street from a century ago is once more visible. Oh my God, that is so cool. I also noticed an old building with a cornerstone. I noticed it too because I didn't see a bit there. I just noticed that it said Citadel for Paris. And then I was like, oh my God, it was done in 1918. After that, I saw this building was meant to be the Citadel for the Paris chapter of the Salvation Army, and a group who mobilized for different kinds of mission and campaigns than as now. And I think that's it for the community. I can get rid of this dude for now, but I want you guys to see the pictures. And I keep forgetting I don't have to share the thing because you guys can see everything. And we're going to go back to... hold on. There we go. So I want to make sure we get back to normal view. And did I do it right? Nope, fit images to window. Then get rid of them, pop me into here. That's still, oh yeah, we're here. We're at the wrong one. There's the book that you picked up. Oh man, that is so cool. We're going way past whatever, but I wanted to do a few more things before we go off into after hours land. So there's more of, there's the World War II there. The Gothic line. Never even heard of that before. Sanctuary Wood. Know that place. Take these men for your example like them. Remember that prosperity can only be for the free. That freedom is the sure possession of those alone who have courage to defend it. Ooh, that's got a little bit of a, for me, a Starship Troopers as well from the book. Thinking about that. There it is, Vimy Loans, Hill 70. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us. All these were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times. That's for sure. There's the street. Yeah, it's kind of neat now that you say that, William Arends, to think that there's people walking there thinking about the war. Right on that ground. And there's that church. Right there. And we can do this, which is so cool. Boink. And there we are. All right. Now we're going to get back to this. I keep forgetting I don't have to jump around with the share screen bit. Tolemykus, we did that. And then we're going to go to me. Please help me give a name to my new foam dart target. I'm going to show you that quickly. Get rid of this. Let's do one more guy. So I thought, why not? I would set up a thing for name the head. Yes. So I thought, you know what? I've got a new target, dude. And you're going to see why in a minute. But anyways, I was just going to do the head. But then I had this guy set up for my, there, you can see that. I had him set up for, well, not the head, but for Halloween. And I was like, hey, why not just use him anyways? So I'm going to try to transform him into, and you're going to see, Box. Do you remember Box? Kind of like a reminiscent of a glutton for punishment. Wicked. I love it. And so I was thinking almost like Box or Bosch, like Boxche, because he kind of reminds me of Box from Logan's Run. And why I wanted to also yet again bring in this is towards the you saw the look of him, and it reminded me quite a bit of Never Going Home stuff. These guys. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it certainly looks a heck of a lot like that my dude. Oops, not him. I can get back to. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is what I'm trying to say, is I would like to see if we could. So if you guys can come up with any crazy names, I would love to. But it's like, I'm going to try to see if I can turn that little dude into like I said, I'll try and maybe get some duct work or something, like, those dryer ducts, make little arms or something. I don't know. I just wanted to have some fun, for goodness sakes. Let's see what else we got cooking on the narrative. I think that's it. We're not obviously going to be doing the Austro-Hungarian forces and defeated Italian troops following the Battle of Caporetto. We'll maybe do that next live stream. We did the civilization film. We did that one. We did that. The Canada yearbook. Oh, actually, very quickly, I wanted you to see this. This is a sweetheart. And that's yet again because of William Arends providing some pictures of the cenotaph stuff. Is this? I didn't know anything about these yearbooks, but I was able to get through all kinds of crazy stuff. I could find out all kinds of amazing stuff. And I'm just going to go. Look at this. There's a lot of info here, man. Like, just something to find out about. Like, So thank you. I mean, that's something I probably will never get to, but thank you, William Arends. I want to go back to what the hell we were looking at. So we did that. Oh, yes. I want to make sure you guys see that. Well, just because I know a lot of you guys are into this, and I wanted you guys to know about it, that it's coming up. The Ken Burns American Revolution, Logan's Liming. Oh, well, thanks, William Arends. I'll pop that in. Nice one, because you would certainly get the box guy from Logan's Run. All right. And that's it. So I want you guys to know about that, because a lot of you guys are into that type of stuff. And he usually does pretty darn good specials. And what else did I pop in here? Oh, yes. I got the position. You guys can see Baron Von. I'll have to bullet. Okay, hold on here. What was going to say is, well, I got to look it up. Oh, yeah. So I got the job. So I'm now the secretary of the World War I Historical Association. They're going to be interviewing me in the new year. I can get rid of this, but we're going to go to the ATA quickly. So that's rather exciting, and I'm just going to tell you this straight up. When we get to the interview for it, I'm not going to break anybody's whatever. Like, I'm not going to say William Arends and getting in, or Tolemykus and whatnot, but I'm certainly going to be bringing people up in the interview if that possibility pops up. And if you don't think I'm going to be tooting your guys' horns, you don't know me, is what I'm trying to say. I'm definitely going to. So there we go. We're going to do one little Arends translation attrition here, and then we're going to go off to the after hours, and that'll be that. And then I got to work my little buns off going through a ton of material and start assembling stuff. But anyways, here we go. Arends translation attrition. The ATA articles from German newspapers translated from William Arends. Oh my God. Actually, we're going to stop because William Arends, you need to let me know. Where is it? Don't do this to me. Oh, there it is. Now, William Arends, please let me know. Is this how you get the information? Is this how you see it? Is this how you're translating it? If you are, son of a bee, I'm getting it easy, man. Easy peasy lemon squeezy compared to you. Holy smokes. I was like, are you nuts? Holy cow. I mean, obviously it's because I'm showing it in a weird whatever. But if that's how you're getting your information, hats off to you, William Arends. Son of a bitch. That's impressive. Anyways, translator's note. In the October 11th, 1917 morning edition of Berlin's financial newspaper, there was an insider, the official guarantee for the latest war loan issue. William Arends, I saw that and I was like, no, he can't be translating directly from that. Oh my God, man. Oh my God. Like I said, I thought, yeah, I'm getting it easy. I feel like I'm like the glamping version of going through a database for newspapers. Oh my God. And I bitch and whine when their contrast is not great. Oh my God. It refers to the 6th and 7th issues of these bonds. Of course, this guarantee, and you guys are going to let me know about this. I don't have all I know, obviously, is that war bonds, it sounds to me like the public wants, I mean, the government wants the public to give them money. But after that, I don't have a flipping clue how it works. They start talking about percentages and all. I'm like, I don't know what is going on. You guys will have to fill me in if you could as we go along here. Of course, this guarantee will only be assured if the German Reich finishes the war victoriously or at least intact. In the body of this notice, the words formally secured, materially, and financial advantage are in bold type to emphasize their significance. War loan guarantee, the security of war bonds. Ah, thank you. War bonds, buy now, get paid back later with interest. Thank you. So what else do they have? Savings bonds now is what I guess the government tries to sucker you into. The security of war bonds. Recently in a meeting, the state secretary of the Reich's Treasury, Count Graf von Redem, declared, the bonds are formally secured by the promise of the government and the Reichstag, by the unwavering will of both doing justice to those who have helped the fatherland in difficult times, and materially by what stands behind them, the labor tax power of the entire German people. War loans and tax issues. Yeah, now I'm like, it's all what? The president of the Directorate of the Reichsbank, Dr. Havenstein, said, it is folly to say that the Reich will impose a special tax on those who are subscribers of the war loan at the time of the redemption of those bonds, for this would be an extraordinary and severe punishment for those who have helped the fatherland. A special tax on those who have not subscribed to these bonds would be much more appropriate. 2. The State Secretary of the Reich's Treasury has particularly emphasized the financial advantage for subscribers who, as is well known, can pay their war tax bonds with bonds. The 5% war bonds, including the book entry bonds, will be issued at their full nominal value at 96.50%. In other words, 1.5% higher, and the 6th and 7th bond issues at 100%. In other words, 2% higher than they cost the subscribers. In order to offer these advantages to the subscribers of the 7th war loan when paying taxes, the interim certificates are also being accepted as payments. God, it seems getting so complicated. The Reich Treasury Secretary further stated, the tax administration will endeavor to clarify this type of tax payment in order to retain one or the other suitable tax after the war, thereby allowing for the liquidation of the bonds on the one hand and the maintenance of their course on the other. Jeepers jumping. And that's it. I think I'm out. Am I? Yes, I think I am. I'm out of all that stuff. Boom. Except I did maybe kind of wanted to very quickly. Yes. Did want to show this. So this was, I don't know if you guys know about this. If you guys, or any of you guys did see the World War I image of the day that I popped up today. Did you? If you didn't, it's a dandy. I can show it to you. Hold on. Because it's just unbelievable. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, you guys can't see this yet. Hold on here. There we go. I'm going to pop me in here. Is this traumatic photographs captured by Frank Hurley show the horrors of Great War's Western Front? He's got some dandies, man. I've seen that. I think actually the Canadian War Museum does almost like a little diorama thing you can walk through. like this. The size of those shells. But anyways, the website's there if you guys want to take a look at it, because I want you guys to see something. Oh yeah, poster of the day, which would be, what did I call it? Angel of Death. I mean, seriously, guys, look at this picture. I can see why it was called Angel of Death. It freaks me right the hell. Oh yeah, it's still not doing that. Oop, I've got to show the whole bloody thing. Yeah, my computer, I really need to get a new computer. I've said that before. I'm saying it again. There we go. Like this. Come on, guys. Look. That isn't, I mean, look at that. Does that not look like legs? And Jesus. I'll try. I got to bring it nicely for you. Look at that. God almighty, that's just so freaky weird. Just blows me away. I think that was it, isn't it? I think that's the end of it, and I can stop this bit, and then we're going to go off to the YouTube thing, and we're going to go off into the ATA, the after hours. Hold on here. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen of the Mud Glutton journey here. We're going to go into the after hours live stream. It's about 40 minutes for anybody that's going to stick around. If you're not going to stick around, I'm super glad that you popped by. Thank you very much, and hope to see you at the next live stream. But like I said, we're going to go off into the after hours. Hold on. What does that say? That should be a weird. Tolemykus, or right out of that Never Going Home RPG. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. The war destroyed the trees of the front, similar to how the Category 5 hurricane just destroyed the trees of Western Jamaica. Melissa, at least I know. Is that the name of it? I'm somewhat current. Oh, brother. Harro, good to hear from you. So that you're going to stick around. So that's it. I'm going to mute myself, hopefully, and let me know if my computer wigs out. Hopefully it isn't going to. You can get rid of me. Boink. Like I said, I'm going to mute myself. See you later, guys. Thank you so much. All righty, here we go. Live stream 132, the after hours from October 26th to November 1st, 1917. And I wonder if I did it. I'm not sure yet, because like I said, I'm just recording now, but wonder if I'm going to add some audio later, like in the background. We'll see. I hope I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, well, you'll never know, I guess. Anyways, well, you would, because I just said so. Oh, forget it. Anyways, French forces are continuing their successful advance beyond the Aisne and are within sight of Laon. They have captured several thousand additional prisoners, the aggregate of the offensive up to yesterday afternoon being over 12,000, while 120 big guns and many of smaller caliber have been taken. The Germans are paying the price for the aid they are giving to Austria in the drive on the Isonzo and for their adventure in Russia. I'm sorry, I have to say something about that, but it's like, yeah, but the Italians are going to be taking a beating in a minute, man. No temporary victory gained in other areas can compensate for the losses they are now sustaining in the West. In the latest communication from Paris, there is enough to warrant a repetition of the belief that the enemy must soon make a considerable retreat in France and Flanders, whether he will or no, or suffer disaster. Generally speaking, the advance of yesterday was on a front of about 6 miles and resulted in the capture of a number of villages and important fortified points, including Monkey Mountain, east of Vauxhall-Élon, the forest of Pinot, and the village of Pargny-Filien. The French have already obtained many of the points that the Germans in the Aragon thought impregnable and will soon be in a position to play havoc with the railways and roads centering at Lyon, and which are of vital importance to the whole German line in this area of France. In fact, these lines of communication can now be bombarded by French guns. At any moment now, we may have word of a new British move which would have the effect of aiding the French offensive, or an attempt by the French themselves to the northwest to make some progress against the wooded, hold on here, Gobe Plateau, a guard for Lyon on the west, from the forest of Coucy. For the moment, the British forces report only the repulse of additional attacks south of the Host forest and raids on various points, which have been attended with good results. The Germans have made nearly a dozen counterattacks on the British in the last few days. This style of fighting is not so spectacular as the Allied advances, but it is costly enough for the foe and helps to victory for the Allies. General Haig may be about ready for another blow. Teutonic forces have gained a considerable initial success in their offensive on the Isonzo front. Oh, brother. It may take some days for the Italian defensive plans to develop to the point where reasonable deductions can be made as to the early consequences to the Italian plan of campaign against Trieste in the south and towards the plains of Hungary from the north of the line. Berlin makes the claim in dispatches received last night that over 10,000 prisoners and much rich booty have been taken, and that the breach through the Italian lines near Flitsch and Tolmino has been widened. Official reports from Rome are obviously heavily censored, but it is plain to read in them the admission of an advance by the foe. What happens to have developed so far is that the foe has made a fair amount of progress on the upper Isonzo, crossing that river at Santa Luisa, a few miles below Tolmino, or at least winning to the bank of the river. Above Tolmino, the foe may be able to take or compel the surrender of Monte Nero, a height of importance which was captured by the Italians in 1915, and the loss of which would imperil the Italian line on the upper Isonzo, even if the foe advances made elsewhere in this sector were checked. General Cadorna's men, according to the latest reports, stopped the enemy's thrusts made farther south, particularly on the Benzizza Plateau and the western slopes of Monte San Gabriele. A fierce bombardment by the foe of Italian positions on the Carso indicates a determination to widen the attack, which is on a rather long front already, from Monte Rambon to below the Benzizza Plateau, 30 miles or so far as can be judged from the fragmentary information given in the brief official reports. It should be borne in mind that the attack of the enemy is a desperate attempt to save Austria. On the Germans will fall the brunt of the onset. They have had to come to the aid of their weakening ally or run the risk of having her put out of the contest soon. It is probable that many of the troops taking part, Austrian and German alike, have been brought from the Russian and Romanian fronts for this attempt to stay the Italians. The latters have had some warning of the coming blow, and it is believed are well prepared to meet it. Rome indicates that some of the success of the foe was due to a heavy mist, which rendered the Italian barrage fire ineffective. That is not offered as an excuse, however. What the Allies may reasonably hope for is that the enemy's advance will be stopped before he recovers too much of the precious ground won by Italian heroism. What the foe aims at is a serious enough check to Cadorna's men before winter sets in to keep them from bringing Austrian resistance to the breaking point. Hold on, I want to hit pause just for a second. And that's because I wanted to take a sip of coffee, but also think about this for a second. There's a lot going on in this little bit here. My God. For me, the main thing, one, is that this is 2 days after. This is October 26th, I do believe. Yep. And this is 2 days after the Battle of Caporetto has started. And there's already quite a bit of information available from somebody in Toronto. I just find, like, I'm just still having to, I guess, just get a new perspective on how much information was being transmitted back there. And it's, you know, not this, I've got a lot to learn. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyways, let's go. The retirement of the Germans on the northern Russian front, to which reference was made yesterday, is not yet completely halted. It extends over a front of about 16 miles. At the same time, Petrograd, I mean, these articles aren't just like thrown together quickly. There's a lot. There's a lot of work going on here. There's a big machinery going on in the background. I just find this fascinating. Anyways, at the same time, Petrograd announces that its civilian population is evacuating Kronstadt, the fortress protecting Petrograd. This is probably a military precaution. Attempts of the Germans to make a second landing on the mainland from the Gulf of Riga have again been frustrated, according to the Russians. If the latter were vigorously in the flight now, their opportunity of striking a blow for the recovery of much of their own territory, while the Germans are taking a gambler's chance in the Austro-Italian front, would be a splendid one. Unofficial reports confirm the stories of traders aiding the Germans in their Gulf of Riga conquests. Another British reprisal raid has been carried out against Saarbrücken in Prussia, where great quantities of explosives have been dropped on factories and other establishments. Elsewhere, in enemy territory, British aviators have bombed many places. Another strong nation is on the verge of war with Germany. The Parliament of Brazil will today vote on the question of authorizing the government to declare that a state of war exists between Brazil and Germany. On a side note, I thought they had already declared war quite a long time ago, but I guess they just broke off diplomatic relations. But I thought they were declared war ages ago. Anyways, the torpedoing of the Brazilian ship Macaw is the immediate cause of the renewed tension at Rio de Janeiro, although Brazilians have been the victims in several sea atrocities. Entry of Brazil into the war on the side of the Entente allies would mean that the Western Hemisphere is lined up solidly against Hohenzollerism and would constitute an insurmountable barrier to the westward expansion of German power after the war. Well, there's still a few neutrals, aka Argentina. So don't say it's, whatever. Anyways, Canadian forces fresh from Lens front took part in the Anglo-French advance northeast and east of Ypres towards the Passchendaele Ridge, taking a number of strong positions to a depth of half a mile. These positions included some trench lines occupied by the original Canadian Expeditionary Forces before the Battle of Saint-Julien. Walter Willison, the newly arrived correspondent of the Canadian press, because Stuart Lyon is now back home, sends some details of the part taken by the men from the Dominion in his first dispatch received this Saturday morning. Central Ontario, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan troops took part in the engagement. They were also at Vimy Ridge. Good news from the Western Front and from South America, where Brazil has declared war on Germany, is counterbalanced by the unfavorable reports from the Italian front. The weather did not favor the Allies in the West, a heavy rain starting late Thursday night and continuing all the morning of yesterday. Nevertheless, it did not prevent the British and French forces making a considerable advance on a wide front northeast and east of Ypres, while the French forces on the Aisne were also getting nearer to Lyon. In the combined operations, the Anglo-French armies attacked from the southern end of Holst Forest, north of Ypres, to the neighborhood of Guillevelt on the Ypres-Menin Road to the southeast. About 12 miles of front was involved, and while it is apparent that the progress hoped for was not attained owing to the weather and the condition of the ground, nevertheless, some valuable positions fell to the Allies, and in the neighborhood of 1,000 prisoners were taken. The French troops, in the course of their action, waded 2 rivers, the men being up to the shoulders in water, and captured the village of Drybank and other positions. I think they would have preferred the village to be called Drybank, but anyways, I'll just shut up. The work of clearing the Passchendaele Ridge is now almost completed, and there's hope that Guillevelt, I think I said it differently in the previous page, a very strong position on the line and important in its relationship to Menin and Lille, will soon fall. Rulers on the road to the sub-bases is now at the mercy of the Allied artillery fire, and the whole German line in Flanders is threatened. Fair weather would decide the issue. Reports that British cavalry were extensively used in the fight, are not borne out officially. Oh, Haig would love it. The German military view of the situation is exemplified in the uncensored statement of some of their critics, foreshadowing a big retirement and explaining that this is part of the prearranged plan. In addition to their part in the attack east of Ypres, the French are continuing their offensive north of the Aisne. On Friday, they captured an additional 200 prisoners, and the number of guns taken now totals 106. Nothing is said in the official reports as to the weather in the sector, but presumably it is raining there as well as in Flanders. Nevertheless, over the greater part of the area, the footing is better than on the Ypres front. The Germans admit that the French made progress and confirm a Paris report of Thursday of ground and material captured. The village of Fillet is now in the hands of the French, who are rapidly nearing Lyon. The German report of their defeat speaks of withdrawals behind the canal near the southeast of Chavignon. Enemy attacks in the Champagne and Verdun areas, obviously made in the hope of diverting the attention from the fighting on the Aisne and in Flanders, did not make much progress. Among the guns captured from the Germans on the Aisne were two of a very large caliber, designed for the firing of huge torpedoes, but not having yet been used. On the Italian front, things are not going well for our allies. Ooh, boy. Berlin now claims that over 30,000 prisoners and 300 guns have been taken, that fighting is progressing at many points on Italian soil, and that the advance of the Teutonic forces is continuing. The offensive is being made with huge forces, backed by a great aggregation of artillery. On the northern end, the Italians have been driven back and have, as a result, been compelled to abandon the Benzisa plateau farther to the south, which is what they just captured a little while ago, which was, I think, caused the Germans to kind of freak out a little bit. And then they sent in their boys with Mr. Houtier tactics with the great aggregation of artillery. And look what happens. This is a most important position, and its conquest some time ago opened the way to a thrust which bade fair to put Austria out of the running. It is most important now that the Italian withdrawal on the north should be halted in order to allow the rectification of the line farther to the south without involving the destruction or cutting off the main line of Italian communication for this territory, which would involve our allies in a disaster of magnitude. It is obvious that the Teutonic forces are staking a great deal on checking Italian aggression and on the hope of striking a body blow to the Italians from which they would not recover. And one of them trying to do it is Mr. Erwin Rommel. British and French artillery are assisting the Italians, who must not be considered as being beaten because of the enemy's really great initial success. Much of the fighting on the southern part of the front attack is on Austrian soil. And as the Italian army has plenty of men to draw on, it can be reinforced in the hour of need. Brazil is now an active participant in the war. And how do they do it? On the side of the Allies, the deputies and senators having almost unanimously sanctioned a proclamation of war by the president. The Brazilian Navy will be of considerable assistance in aiding the Allies in the patrol and blockade work. It includes 3 dreadnoughts, 2 old battleships, 5 protected cruisers, a dozen or more destroyers, and several submarines. With its population of about 22 million and its immense natural resources, particularly in woods, Brazil would be no mean addition to the Allied forces and could raise a formidable army if the Allies want more land forces. Berlin and Rome announce an Italian defeat of magnitude, the full effects of which are not yet calculable. The former claims the capture of 100,000 prisoners and 700 guns, the retreat of the 2nd and 3rd Italian armies, and the advance of the Teutonic forces on a line from the mountains to the sea. Rome makes a grave and startling admission in its official announcement that units of the 2nd Army, in cowardice, retired without fighting or surrendered to the enemy, allowing the Austro-German forces to break into our left wing on the Julian front. Gee, did Cadorna write that? The natural consequence of the defection of this force has been the hurried abandonment of great stretches of the Italian lines from the Julian Alps to the seacoast and the hurrying of the Teutonic forces toward the Italian plains. But I do believe there was, I'm not sure, maybe it was that army there, that they were told to secure their positions, like get ready for whatever. And I think he didn't do it. He was still like in an offensive minded thing, had his troops way close to the front and so on and so forth. They just got decimated by the artillery. Remember, fact check with me all the time. Cividale in the Italian, I'm just trying to give Cadorna a little bit of credit. Cividale, I mean, come on, no one there, no one's like completely one or the, you know what I mean? Like, he obviously got there for a reason. Cividale, and let's be honest, things were working. At one point, they were grinding the Austrians down. Cividale in the Italian province of Venetia described, I mean, the Germans wouldn't have come over if the Austrians were doing fine and Cadorna was sucking the hind tit, would they? Described as the first town and point of position leading to the plains, has been occupied by the foe. But he's going to get into trouble now. He's going to really get into trouble, especially when he starts blaming everybody but himself. It was burning when occupied, having been fired by the Italians, and this place is in the rear of positions on the Lower Isonzo line, which had been taken by the Italians. Yeah, and then don't show up when the freaking king tells you to show up for a freaking meeting. I think he did it twice. Like, oh. It is possible that most of Cadorna's forces east of the Isonzo have been withdrawn in safety. At that point is not yet clear. He fired like what, over 20 generals for Christ's sakes? Something insane like that, man. And as the foe claims that their line now extends from the mountain, imagine what that would do for, like, I mean, you couldn't think, man, if you're constantly worried about getting fired, stuff like that. You just couldn't, I mean, God. To the Adriatic Sea, I mean, talk about paralysis. What do they call that? Analysis paralysis. To the Adriatic Sea, many of the Italians on Austrian territory may be absolutely cut off from retreat to join their armies to the west. Gorizia, for which the Italians fought so long and so bravely, has been recaptured. Holy shit. But it's been recaptured by, I didn't know that, by the Austrians. And this presumably, Jesus, that was they were everybody and their dog was jumping up and down about that. Means that the Carso Plateau and most of the Austrian territory southward is also being evacuated by the Italians as a matter of precaution, even if we presume that they were not actually driven out. It would be idle to attempt to belittle the seriousness of the Italian defeat, and it is possible that much worse news may be received before the situation improves. If the Russians were still a formidable fighting quality, an early and electrifying change might come over the whole scene. The Russians will never have a better chance than now to strike Austria while the latter's troops are concentrated on the Italian front effort. But while Russia cannot be depended upon to assist, the situation must not be regarded as entirely hopeless. In the course of a few days, it is probable that Italian dispositions will be strong enough forces to the northern and eastern fronts to check the invasion of the Italian plains, while at the same time, it must be remembered that help from the British and French armies can be sent to Italy by rail or via that little transit route thing on the game there in SPI World War I. Anyways, the British especially could probably spare a very considerable number of men and guns. If Cadorna and the other officers in command of the Italians could rally their forces within a reasonably short time and hold the invaders, the Allies will have a chance to take a great toll of the enemy. The Teutons are risking everything on this invasion, which has as its primary objective the saving of the Austrians. They may win out by the very rapidity of their advance, but they run the risk of eventual defeat in Italy and the loss of strategic positions in the West. God, I felt like a little British aristocrat when I went, they run the risk. Anyways, the Italians, it has been said more than once, have over 3 million men under arms, and the bulk of these are within their own borders. It should be possible in the course of the next few days, unless panic should spread, to concentrate enough of them at points which can be held until the tide of invasion is checked, and to win a victory on the plains if the enemy presses on. No doubt, the number of guns already claimed to have been taken by the Teutons will be largely increased, as many of them, and especially the heavier pieces, has been installed in advanced positions, particularly in the mountain regions, only by incredible exertions. Most of them would be mounted on concrete foundations, and the task of removing them would be one requiring much time and labor. It is possible that many of the guns are those captured in the earlier fighting from the Austrians, but a large number of them would undoubtedly be from the countries allied with Italy, which had furnished considerable artillery for her. If General Cadorna is eventually able to turn the tide of defeat and snatch victory from it, the captures of men and material would be as great as if not greater than those of which Berlin now properly boasts, but in respect to which Rome is naturally silent. In warfare in the mountainous regions, there are generally only certain roads and paths that can be used, and when these come into the possession of victorious forces, the men in the high positions, depending very largely upon these lines for ammunition and food supplies, are soon compelled to surrender. But fighting in the mountains is insanity. French and Belgian troops, I mean, even everybody and their dog has been telling you that. French and Belgian troops have gained some successes between Dixmude and the western outskirts of Houtholst Forest, particularly on both sides of the road between Ypres and Dixmude. A number of villages and fortified farms in the area known as the Mercum Peninsula have been captured. In this operation, and at part of the inundated territory of Belgium, was crossed by the Allied forces. The importance of the operation, which continues to develop successfully according to the latest dispatches, is illustrated by the statement of German military experts that it will probably result in the abandonment of the foe of Houtholst Forest and a retreat on a big scale. The forest named has been a thorn in the side of the Allies, as it is an immensely strong defensive position, particularly in relationship to rulers and the roads from rulers to Lille on the south and from rulers to the coast. The news that the Belgian infantry, after a long and trying period of defensive trench warfare, is again on the offensive, will be everywhere received with pleasure. It is an augury of the coming clearance of Belgium from the foe. British and Canadians have repulsed a number of disparate attacks on positions taken by them in the recent offensive east and northeast of Ypres. The Canadians are now strongly entrenched on the dominating spur overlooking the Passchendaele-Zonnebeke Road and Passchendaele itself. At one time, just after reaching the crest of the spur, they were compelled to give ground a little, but quickly recovered it and have been hanging on since in the face of all attempts to dislodge them. Aid for Italy is not to prevent the continual hammering of the Germans in Flanders and France. That is the meaning of the attack launched by General Haig yesterday. What do you take from that? Like, for me, I don't know about you guys, but okay, aid for Italy is not to prevent the continual hammering of the Germans in Flanders and France. Okie doke. That is the meaning of the attack launched by General Haig yesterday. So does that mean you guys launched the attack yesterday to the people that were doing the attack yesterday were just some weird strategic calculus error, thing? It just freaks me out to think like this may not have actually had any, objective really there, but we're just trying to prove a point or something. It's just like, oh my gosh. Anyways, lots to learn about war, man, for me. The Canadians won in their objectives and repulsed 5 counterattacks in a new thrust on the Passchendaele Ridge yesterday, according to a statement issued by Sir Douglas Haig last midnight. And on a side note, imagine if we could get the woman that did the narrating for the news in the movie for 1984. Oh my God, with John Hurt. Wouldn't that be wicked? Oh my God, I'd love her to do this. Anyways, the fighting is on a more limited area than in previous offensive in the sector, but its importance is not modified thereby. At a number of points along the line, the depth reached was 1,000 yards. It was to be expected that the Germans would make a desperate effort to retain portions of the ridge. They claimed to have retaken Passchendaele after its capture by the Canadians. But while their counterattack might have been temporarily successful, an early announcement that all of the ridge is in the hands of the British is probable. General Haig's forces are now within 6 miles in an almost direct line of the important center of rulers and are almost daily getting nearer to compelling the evacuation of the submarine bases on the Belgian coast. They are, hold on, I'm just going to stop for a second. I was wondering about this too before, a couple pages ago when they were talking about the weather getting pretty bad and whatnot I was like, and they had mentioned Passchendaele. I was like, is this the Passchendaele I keep seeing in movies? This type like always about the mud. Like, is this bit, or when I go to the Canadian War Museum and they have that thing, the trenches there and whatnot in Passchendaele, and you hear about people drowning, or like, oh, you just slip off to the duck boards and bloop, you're gone, man. I'm wondering. Here we are. It's like, whoa. Anyways, they are already in a position to make life unbearable for the Germans in the Flanders Plain, who are faced with the alternative of trying to hold trenches in the lowlands capable of defense only by sandbag barriers or conducting a retreat on a considerable scale. They are likely to retreat before it is too late to do so in comparative safety. In the Verdun sector, the French have retaken further trench elements lost the other day to the Germans and have thus reconquered most of the ground lost. Rome reports continuation of the Italian retreat, but beyond the statement that the cavalry is in touch with the vanguard of the advancing enemy gives no details. It appears that the forces retiring from the Isonzo were able to destroy a number of bridges across that river. Thank you. I'll put that in for some World War I post image of the day. Thank you. And to slow up the foe advance in some degree. Berlin continues to couch its reports in the most optimistic strain, which is not unnatural in view of the rapid progress of the Austro-German armies. These have taken Udine, the abandonment of which was a foregone conclusion in view of the development since Sunday, and are pressing on towards the Tagliamento River line of defense, where Cadorna is expected to make a stand. The Germans say that the heavy rain has swollen the river and that the retreat of the Italians across it has been retarded because of the condition thus brought about at the crossings. They also claim that their troops in the north are advancing out of the passes of the Carnac Alps against the upper courses of the Tagliamento, obviously with the intention of trying to turn the Italian line along that river. Within the next few days, we should know whether Cadorna will be able to make a stand here, as it is hoped he may, particularly as there are a number of formidable defensive works along the line. The question has been raised whether these have a sufficient number of guns to stem the foe onrush, or whether they have been stripped of their guns for the Italian offensive along the Isonzo. The announcement that the British artillerymen who were assisting the Italians in their offensive had not only succeeded in making good the retreat, but had been brought with them all their guns, is held by the Washington and London commentators to indicate that a considerable amount of artillery had been saved by the main Italian armies, and that many of the guns lost are mountain guns. The British guns are heavies, and the saving of them in the retreat of the magnitude of that now in progress is no small feat. The British soldiers are said to have suffered very greatly during the 3 days of their retreat, owing to their persistent rains, the cold, and the lack of provisions, but they will probably regard these hardships as weighing little against the fact that they saved their guns for future use against the enemy. There is no indication in any of the dispatches as to the arrival of British or French reinforcements, which we may be sure are well on their way, and of course, military reasons would prohibit the announcement of such arrivals until it could be said that they were engaged. While Berlin speaks as though the rush of the offensive, which has continued now for 6 days, is not slackening in the slightest degree, the probabilities are that this is an exaggeration, and that even if the rain should not retard the foe, the necessity for bringing up supplies, and the fact that the Italian opposition is stiffening as Cadorna's forces reach their first great defensive line, will have that tendency. The enemy, of course, is spurred on to tremendous effort by the desire to prevent the Italians taking up the strong prepared positions, if that is possible. It cannot yet be said that the foe will not succeed and compel our allies to continue their retreat. At the same time, it is well to bear in mind that the advance is now proceeding over the plains, and that a real rally by the Italians with counterattacks, backed up by British and French allies, might inflict a great disaster on the Austro-Germans. Vorwärts of Berlin puts the real reason for the attack on Italy in its statement that it was not undertaken in an aggressive spirit with the object of conquest, but solely to bring peace nearer. And I'm going to go and look for it. William Arends' dispatches, his ATAs. In any recent event, it is still the internal strife in Italy, and all parties are now united in their determination to fight vigorously until the invader is defeated. British reprisal raids on German towns continue to be carried out in systematic thoroughness. Ooh, I love that. Following another raid on Saarbrücken in Prussia, which has been several times bombed since the reprisals were decided upon. I know I always felt like I was doing a deja vu paragraph here. Pirmasens, 20 miles beyond Saarbrücken, has been attacked by 12 British machines. The official report declares that bombs burst on factories and gasworks with excellent results. Oh my God, I can hear Bill and Ted's little guitar riff going. Oh, there, I should put that little sound effect in. The Germans are paying a high price commercially and industrially for their war on world conquest. Under regulations issued by the American government, enemy-owned patents and copyrights are licensed for manufactured by citizens of the United States. It is said that these deal with approximately 20,000 articles, including dye-stuff formulas of vital importance to many lines of industry. I was really surprised at that when I found out about, like way long ago, about the importance of, I was just like blown away, man, that this was like, yeah, really important. Anyways, Petrograd reports what appears to be a preliminary to renewed offensive against the northern end of the Russian line. The fighting, it is claimed, was favorable for the Russians. Oh, and we're on November 1st. Berlin claims that the aggregate of Italians captured now numbers 120,000 and that the guns 1,000, and states that the operations are taking the course planned. So what's that? One gun for every 12 people? The last statement could be made by the faux war offices to fit any eventuality, even a retreat back to Austria should Cadorna's forces be able, as the Allies hope, to turn the tables. The main Italian armies are apparently continuing their withdrawal steadily, and by tomorrow, we may have a definite news as to whether they are able to make a stand on the Tagliamento River line of defenses. The brief Italian reports of Wednesday indicate that fighting took place at points northwest of Udine and some 4 miles east of the Tagliamento. The brave behavior of our covering units and cavalry has permitted the other troops to continue the movement towards positions on the new line, says the official statement. This, it is presumed, means that the northern and southern armies are safe also. A number of towns of importance will be abandoned as a result of the Italian withdrawal, and the enemy now holds about 1,000 square miles of Italian territory. It is by no means certain that the Tagliamento will represent the farthest point of retreat. That will depend largely on the ability of the Italians to hold the northwestern portion of this line. It is certain that in the mountain passes, there are still considerable forces of the enemy awaiting the clearance of the roads and the passage of supplies to follow on the heels of their comrades now attacking Cadorna's forces. A semi-official statement by the Associated Press, from Italian headquarters in northern Italy emphasizes a point which, hold on. Here we go. Press from Italian headquarters in northern Italy emphasizes a point which has already been dwelt upon, namely that the attack on the Italians was in the nature of a surprise and was most effective at a point where little fighting has taken place and where the troops were not, therefore, so steady as the men who were holding the real fighting fronts from the Benzizza Plateau south to the sea. The larger number of Cadorna's veterans have probably been able to make good their retreat. The correspondent pays a tribute to the military genius that was shown in extricating the bulk of the forces from an exceedingly critical position, rendered the more critical by the inadequate resistance, referred to by Cadorna himself, in dealing with the breaking of the Italian left wing on the Julian front, and the serious consequences to the fronts elsewhere. Some heads are going to roll. In addition to the aid in men and guns from the British and French fronts, which should now be linking up with Cadorna's men, The United States is taking every possible step to rush aid to Italy. This is, of course, will take more time than the aid from France and Flanders, but not so long as would have been the case had the Americans not had a large quantity of supplies, a good deal of it on shipboard, ready to send to other Allied belligerents. These will now be delivered to Italy. It is also probable that the United States will allay some feeling in Italy, which has arisen over the fact that President Wilson's cabinet has not declared war on Austria-Hungary. That freaked me right out. This is said to have been used by the pro-German propagandists with some effect as an indication that the United States did not care much what happened to Italy. We have to really remember all these things too. Remember that way back when we found out that Italy hadn't even declared war on Germany for quite a while. I was like, what? One gratifying statement from Rome via Washington is that the bread shortage among the Italians has been exaggerating in reports reaching the side of the world, and that the rations are better in this respect than in Britain or France. The statement made by the French premier in an interview published in the Globe today shows what interests Italy's old world allies regard the situation and how keen they are to help. Yeah, and let's be honest, when we're talking about wheat in Italy, don't F with their pasta. Better make sure you bring some stuff, I would assume. Anyways, remember the bloody thing you even found? What was there about the water or whatever? About isn't that some kind of Europa game where they World War II thing where they had to worry about the pasta or something, water for the pasta for the Italian troops? Anyways, that was like a real neat little. Anyways, relays of aircraft crossed the southeast coast of England last night and proceeded towards London, according to a bulletin received this morning. The raid was progressing at last reports. On the British front, the day was spent in consolidating positions captured on the Passchendaele Ridge, where the Canadians made such an excellent advance under trying circumstances owing to the condition of the ground. A number of counterattacks were repulsed by the Canadians, who occupied dominant positions near the village of Passchendaele. The French report a number of minor actions on both the Aisne and the Verdun fronts, but the Berlin official statement indicates that another stroke is intended on the former. Speaks of intense and prolonged artillery firing throughout the day. In the offensive from October 23rd to 27th, the French took 12,157 prisoners, of whom 237 were officers and 180 guns. I think the Italian front was like way longer, wasn't it, than the French than the Western Front? I think way longer, man, and it god awful. Jesus. 14 British merchantmen of over 1,600 tons and 400 that tonnage were sunk by submarines during the week, and not as many people. Imagine that. This compares with the 17 and 8, respectively, in the previous week. The reduction in losses from the submarine attacks is gratifying but not satisfying. It is still undoubtedly the case that the submarine menace is serious and that there can be no real rest for the Allies in regard to it until shipping losses are reduced to a point where new production can at least keep pace with them. Once this stage is reached, the day when the submarine will be conquered should not be far off. It is interesting to note that losses to Italian shipping during the week were to 2 steamers of over 1,500 tons, 1 under that tonnage, 1 small sailing vessel. This is a large enough proportion in view of the amount of Italian shipping on the high seas. Okie doke, that's it. And then we're off to William Arends' ATA stuff. Hope you liked it. See ya.